So today, we will start, as always, with writing down 2 things that you're grateful for the past week. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all. I hope that you keep building this habit just on a daily basis, kind of like reflecting on what is happening on a daily or a weekly basis, and how are you connecting to your communities, to people around you, and what is it that keeps engaging you in life, keeps bringing you some gratification, some happiness. Hopefully that's the purpose of this exercise. And the next question I'm going to ask, I know it's been 2 weeks now, but what was kind of the biggest learnings or the biggest new information that you've learned from the last lesson? And maybe something that you've done at homeworks. Who wants to share? Looking for 2-3 people who would like to just recall on the last class. Yes, please.
I'm first here, but thank you what you talked about from my husband,
right.
This balance and this physical changes.
Yeah.
And it's thank a lot, because when I told him about it,
he wouldn't listen.
Yes, yeah, but from you, yes.
Was that the wheel of balance, kind of like different parts of your life that you would like to keep in balance?
It's because it's important.
Yes. Yes.
You understand.
Okay. Good. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad Kostya is using it. Anybody else? Yes, please, Dan.
So last time, 2 weeks ago, for me it was kind of a surprise because like I came for a Groshi class, like something about money, but it's so cool because I'm in that like for ages, like also this special balance wheel, etc. And it was like super cool that you are thinking not only about money but also about balance, and like having that balance, it's much easier to do more money and like to participate and engage. And also I really liked that it was like a special part for like for community, and also like for some kind of help and
volunteering.
Volunteering, and it inspired me, and like because like now I have a new job, and like I participated in a Affordably Global project. Does everyone know about this project? Can you raise your hand who doesn't?
What was the name of the project?
Affordably Global? No?
Yes, I know.
You told.
Yes. Okay, but maybe who else? Affordably Global. Okay, can I share? It's like really quick.
Sure.
Guys, it's amazing. It's a non-profit organization. They help immigrants for free. For you, it's like totally for free. So they help you to find a new job, and also they help to upgrade your knowledges, and like to get a new, not only like new job, but also like it's new profession.
Okay, like a totally new career, new path.
To switch to something else.
Yeah.
So why it's like it's amazing. Write it down. Affordably Global again.
Would you be able to share it in Telegram?
Yes. Sure.
That'll be great.
So why it's so cool? So they are giving you access to all Coursera courses for free. Also, it's like a LinkedIn Premium for 1 year
nice.
free.
Wow.
Also, they give you a career coach and like a lot of
That's amazing.
different opportunities. For example, with them, I had a chance to participate in different program from Deloitte.
Yeah.
And it was like Salesforce program, so I actually retrained for Salesforce and got also a couple of licenses also for free. So it's really nice because you can have this new community, and you can like find better job. And their idea, it's not to like for you. You are not going to. They're not helping you to find like a job as an Uber driver or something.
Right.
It's like to find.
It's a long term.
Yeah, and also by the way, they have English language, special English language app, like to learn English.
Keep
and
practicing,
it's a really nice one too.
Nice.
So what I'm trying to say, I started this new job, and it's my second job. It's a lot on my plate right now because I'm doing both of them in one time. So, but now I'm going to be a volunteer in that upwardly global organization.
Nice. Wow.
And also it's super cool because, for example, a lot of immigrants, they came, because now it's new job, it's like in medical sphere.
Yeah.
So, and I can help because I'm the HR business manager right now in medical clinics all over California, so I can help with hiring and everything. What I'm trying to say is that as a volunteer, I'm going to coordinate and help immigrants with merit past experience, like to find a new job here.
Okay,
it's like,
that's
so
perfect.
For you, it's like super cool.
Wow.
In case you don't have, in case you would like to like upgrade your job or something, it's for free. So for you, it's like, and also don't hesitate. For example, one girl, she told me, "Oh, I had such a bad job coach, you know." So
you can always just switch person.
You can just
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah.
Like it's like your opportunity.
Yeah.
Everything is for free. It's like up to you, like how much you can take
Yeah.
from those.
So those in here who are looking to switch their career path or try to find something new for yourself, come talk to Tanya after that. And yes, please, like, reach out to her. And
I want to add something. So I'm participating in the same program.
Beautiful.
As Diana.
Okay.
Yes, you know this. But I'm on track, just looking for a new job. So and I've got like coach, as she said, like, it's exactly the same. I had a little bit lower expectation, but I would like such a professional coach who understands about sales in IT.
Wow.
There's a lot of networks. We build like strong strategy and I understand step by step what to do.
That's so cool.
A lot of action
Wow.
done from my side, but I mean, it's really wow. It's really something how people do like a lot of things.
Yep.
And brands.
Yep.
Such a good platform.
Yep.
Diana,
Please share. Yeah. That is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And like, send the links, and that is so cool. All right. Thank you. All right. One more person who wants to share anything from the last class, or any. How did the SMART goals work for everyone? Do you remember those SMART goals that you set for yourself? Who was able to achieve the goal? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that Vanya did 10 pull-ups. So he's not here. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to send that into the chat, but I figured, if he wanted, he would probably do it. But he posted on Instagram, so he did the 10 pull-ups. SMART goals are a really good tool because they force you to set something incredibly specific, right? It's a very specific timeline that you set in front of yourself. So if you didn't work out for the first time, try it again. During the break, those who want, you can spend maybe another 2 minutes coming up with a very specific SMART goal for the next 2 weeks, right? We want to have a lesson next Saturday, so you'll again try, see if it works this time, and then you just get into the habit of setting the goal, and ahead of time you'll be kind of like be able to fine-tune how achievable it is, and then you achieve it, and you'll just keep going through that cycle, and then it just becomes very subconscious for you. It's the same with saving money or stopping bad habits. It applies to everything. All right, that's what I want to do. I want to celebrate some wins, because you guys, just 2 weeks ago, you've set some goals for yourself, and a lot of you did it. I think it's pretty incredible. All right, so agenda for today. As I shared on Telegram, today we're going to talk a lot about budgeting, credit cards, and compound interest. So we're going to cover these 3 topics. I really wanted, as always, I want to put like 10 topics for today. But then I remembered last class that we went into 3 hours and people were quite tired. So I decided to break it into smaller things. And hopefully they will stick a little bit better. And so we'll spend more time covering different topics, but hopefully each one of them will get so much better. You will get so much better in understanding each one of those. The next 2 lessons, what I really want to cover before I leave, I want to cover how to buy and what to buy in terms of stocks and ETFs and investments. So again, we are going to open the accounts together. I really wanted to do this all today, but then I've decided that covering this is still going to be incredibly important before we jump into this. I kind of like maybe feel a lot of responsibility before giving you tools to open accounts and put your money in and start buying things, so that some mistakes could be eliminated. So I feel some responsibility here. I don't want to jump into this very quickly. We're going to cover these topics today, and then we're going to look at the stocks and ETFs and differences in those things, like why are they different and how do they work, how to open an account, how to make the trade, how to balance the portfolio, and so I think we will cover most of these topics, these 5, the next time we meet, and then we'll talk a lot more about when to buy things. That will be the kind of the last class before our big monthly pause. So that's the agenda. So let's jump into it. I want a few of you to tell me, what do you think of when you hear budgeting? Who would like to go? Savings, okay. Planning. Keeping track of money. Anybody else? Expenses.
Smart expenses.
Okay. Good. I like that. Planning.
Managing your money.
Management, yeah. Just really getting better at knowing how much do you already have, how much do you spend.
Assets.
What is it?
Assets.
Assets, yeah, knowing your assets. And then be better at planning, and hopefully then later on investments and opportunities that you can. Again, money is the tool, right? We spoke about this last time. Money is not the goal. The goals are everything else in life. The goal is really just to stay alive, and then cover your basic needs, and then be productive, and then feel the belonging of the community, be helpful to somebody else. Those are the goals. You need money to achieve those goals, so they're the tool. If you need to get from point A to point B, you use a car, you use public transport. Those are tools. You don't dream about getting a car just for the sake of having it. It's the tool that gets you maybe more comfortably, and that's where you get into the differences. But the money is the tool. So budgeting, I put some things that kind of resonated with me. They give me the control and clarity, right? So when I have things in writing, I can see them visually. I can exactly know how much money, like some of you mentioned assets, how much do I have of that, how much am I spending on a monthly basis. It kind of makes the whole process less of an autopilot and you stay much more in control of things. I think anyone can start, today with some small wins, thinking about the budgeting, because even if you've never, okay, here's a question. I know I sent this in Telegram, but how many of you are actually doing the budgeting today? How many of you budget? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a few of you, right? 6. Everybody thinks budgeting is very important. Not everybody does that. It's like, yeah, this is a cool thing. I should. It's never too late. It's never too late, because even if you haven't been doing it, like you're still alive. You're still going around your life doing incredible things. So hopefully, after today's lecture, you'll be like, okay, budgeting is actually pretty cool. It's actually pretty easy to do. If I do it, I can then plan much better ahead of time. I can know how much can I invest into different businesses or different stocks, maybe buy real estate, things like that. It kind of creates the discipline as well. When I was back in university, when I started doing budgeting, I would force myself to write absolutely everything manually, right? So I would open up all my transactions from the bank account and I would write them out. In that way, I knew how much time I spend on budgeting, and it's just so painful if I spend a lot. If I do a lot of transactions in a month, it became very painful. It would take me a lot of time. So what that taught me is to basically just spend less, so that I don't have to spend a lot of time budgeting. right? And that way, it just built a lot of discipline in how I also spend the money, but also like just before I go and like I want to buy something, just very emotionally, I would a lot of times catch myself not doing it because I know that the time will come and I will have to do that transaction manually. And it really doesn't take a lot. So in the best nature of this, I did my budget for the May today, right? So the month is ending. Today is the last day. It happened to be Saturday as well. Usually I have my budget calendar event for every second Saturday. Sometimes I skip the middle monthly Saturday and I just do it one time, right? So I literally spent 20 minutes today doing full months of May. I have accounts here in the US, I have accounts in Canada, I have real estate there. And I'll show you how I do it and I'll share some tips, but it doesn't take a lot of time. Like it does not. Again, it's like a muscle. It's like any type of process. First time I was trying to set up the camera, it took me a long time. I fucked it up. I didn't record our first lecture. But then over time it becomes faster, easier. I know exactly where to plug what, how it's going to work, what to test, and it just works, and it takes me only 5 minutes. So hopefully, again, after this lesson, you'll at least give it a chance. You'll try to do the budgeting. I'll share a template with you just so it's so much easier to start. And then hopefully, like, in 2 months into it, you will see that it actually takes about 50 minutes.
The first couple months is really great. It's very quick. One dev and 50, it's better and easier,
Yeah.
Actually, one of your tasks, like it was from previous homework, it was like a pyramid of needs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, when I started to do that,
Yeah.
I feel a lot of pain because I was, oh my gosh, how much money I spent like for like
On the wants?
not like really needs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was helpful.
Good. I'm glad. I know it is painful. Sometimes, when you don't think about it, it's just like maybe, you don't feel it.
Like for food, for clothes, for like some entertainment stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can do it without touch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you put that into perspective of how much you could have saved, and we'll talk about the compound interest, you look at how much time has been, passing, you spending all this money instead of, them being invested. You look at the opportunities that are basically you're missing out. Okay. So again, I have this thing. Every dollar you earn should have a purpose, right? So you go to work. Think of this. You go to work. You spend your time. You also came here spending your time. Thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. I know it's a good investment. So you go to work. You exchange your time for money, right? And then it's really precious resource that you got. Then you go ahead and spend it mindlessly. Something in that just bugs me personally. So I think that of every dollar that I make, I try to make sure that a good chunk of it is working for me as well. So I've spent some time, I got some money, I want to put in some money so that now they do the job for me. I make money out of that money, and I can spend more time enjoying my life. Because again, this is a tool, right? As any tool, it could work for me automatically, or I can keep working for it to get more and spend it. And it's like driving a car. You can drive a car mindlessly. You can put a gas, put the brakes, then you'll keep paying more and more for it. Then it's gonna stop working for you. You need a new car, things like that. That's the same thing with money. So there are actually different ways to budget. How many of you know any of these words, terminology, or that you've ever thought of, well, there are actually different ways to budget? Anyone?
And also pay yourself business.
Pay yourself first.
Yeah, it's cash.
Cash envelope system. The first one? Good. I'm going to go through each one of them. Bless you. I'm going to go through each one of them. Should be pretty quickly. Should be pretty quick. So in 50-30-20 rule, it's basically the percentages that you assign to different kind of like buckets, right? So in budgeting, we'll be thinking a lot about different buckets. So in this particular rule, we have 50% for the needs. So if you get a paycheck, you get $10,000. Usually, what you do is you try to allocate 5,000 of that money for your bills, utilities, internet, your rent, maybe even car payments. Yes, food is important as well. You gotta eat. So those 50% of your needs should be covered by, your needs should be covered by 50% of your income. Then you kind of allocate 30% for your wants, right? It's like some people just have hard times of like postponing the gratification. They want to maybe go on a trip, they want to buy new clothes, maybe go see a movie, etc., etc. We want to have fun, right? That's, again, we are living to be productive, to cover our needs, and then have some fun. And then you still allocate 20% for savings, investing, or paying your debts. So this is one of the approaches. You look at your income, how much you get every month, and you basically just divide it in these 3 buckets. It's very simple. Doesn't take too much to do. What it does take you is, again, you would need to kind of per transaction look into which bucket each transaction goes. Is this the need? Is this the want? Or is it something where I'm investing? Because a lot of times in future me, I put education as well. If I spend money on Coursera or some courses, that is an investment. It's actually one of the best investments you can ever make, is in your knowledge. And we'll talk about that in a second. All right, the second approach is the zero-based budget. This one is interesting. In preparation for this lecture, I knew about it. I haven't really heard about it being used a lot, but it kind of makes sense. So what this one does is it says, you know what? There should be no extra dollars laying around. Every single dollar should be accounted for. And if we go back to how the companies do their P&L statements, every single dollar must add up. Right? How much money you made and how much money you spent plus how much is left, that must add up. Here it's the same thing. Income minus expenses should be $0. And that is by design because you've assigned every single dollar to a job. And again, in this scenario, if you don't assign $100 to an investment job, you're most likely is going to spend it on something that you might not need. Right? So it encourages intentional spending and reduces, again, emotional purchases because you know exactly where your money are allocated for and you just spend it there. Pay yourself first method is, in my opinion, a little bit better than 50-30-20 rule because here 20% is kind of like a leftover thing, right? It's whatever is left, I'll invest it. And it makes sense when your needs are not covered. But in budgeting, what you can do is you can say, you know what, I'm going to allocate some percentage of money that I make to investments first. So I'm going to push real hard to take everything that I earn, take 10 or 20 or 30% from that and put it into my investment accounts. Only then you can go and basically use 50-30-20 rule, right? You can combine them together as well. And you say, okay, well, 20% is absolutely definitely going to the investments. I'm actually not even going to count them as my income. I'm just going to pay myself first, and only then I can spend and separate all other money that I have left over into everything else, into those buckets. The last one, I like this one a lot. I like this one because it gives you a very clear goal. Why are you saving money? This one tells you to divide money into categories. And back then, when we didn't have apps and money were actually physical, you would basically get an envelope, put in money, and write, transport, my car, my child, clothes, business, or whatever those expenses are. Now you could do it on different apps, or you can do it in Excel sheets and stuff. I still kind of like the cash envelope thing even today. When you're going shopping or you're going to travel, you literally withdraw money, you have hard cash, and this is all that you can spend. That way you're not going to overspend. That way you can physically feel, like when we teach kids about money, that's the first thing we do. We don't give them the credit card or a debit card, we give them cash because it's physical, because they can feel it, they can see it actually disappear. With money in the banks, it's much harder to kind of feel that purchase, When you spend $150 and you still have, X $1,000, you're like, oh, that's fine. It's fine. I'll make it up. With physical cash, you're like, maybe I shouldn't. So it helps a lot, and I would, recommend it highly, especially for those who have kids. Also, play with them basically. Kind of like create this environment for them to also have that hard cash to spend, and they should participate in the family finances as early as they would appreciate it. Maybe around 5 or 6 years old. That's a good amount. That's a good age to start. Okay, so there are two ways that I came up with: manual and automatic. How to do the budgeting. So I'm going to show some examples. I'm going to start with manual. I'll show you basically how I do my budgets. And then I'll talk a little bit about automatic. I don't quite like automatic approach to budgeting, but I like the automations that help me do the manual. The reason why is because if you just connect your bank account to an app that does the budgeting for you, it's almost like using AI to write a book, right? It will write a book for you, but then what kind of work did you do? And what did you learn from that? And how did you use this? So when you use automatic budgeting, it's still incredibly important to allocate some time to actually review the expenses, maybe plan different buckets, move your money around, because that's the purpose of budgeting in the first place. It's not just to keep track of your money, because if you keep track and never act on it, then there is no value in that. With manual, you're forced to at least feel all your spending. You are forced into formalizing all of your different categories and so on. I'm actually going to take a chair because are there any questions at this point?
Budgeting with my husband when we how to connect it's hard.
That's a good question. I'm gonna share one guy on like YouTube, and he has books as well. His main focus is basically like he has pretty good philosophy on money. His approach to money is that the money is the tool for life. It's not the purpose of budgeting and planning and investments is not to cut yourself from enjoying life. It's to help you plan for enjoyment. So a lot of people say, cut your coffee. If you didn't drink this coffee and put this $5 every day, you would have this much money. Well, he says, yes, I could, but I'm also not going to save enough to buy a house. But I'm missing out on enjoying something in my life. And he talks a lot about partners and couple budgeting, because approach to money it's basically like a fundamental value in our lives, right? It's like religion, or you just have a belief on how you use them, and it could be subconscious, could be. What I'm here to say is like I don't know how you guys approach it, and I think it's very personal. We can talk more about it. I didn't plan to like cover a lot of partner planning and different like scenarios, different situations. But I know that it can be a very tricky topic to discuss. Some people just want to be emotional. Some people want to feel the gratification by spending money. They don't want to like keep track because it feels like it limits them. Sometimes it can be quite a serious topic, and so, like some people get divorces about that, right? It's like it can be really, really hard if you don't talk about that ahead of time. That thing is just gonna keep appearing in your lives. So yeah, if you want, we can talk about that a little bit more. Okay, I will bring this hopefully. Okay. So I have my Excel sheet, and again, with budgeting, pretty much as with anything in life, you don't need to overthink it. If it works for you, if it makes sense, the simpler it is, the more functional it is, the better it is. So for me, what I do is I have a few tables here. The most kind of important, that's where everything starts, is transactions, right? So everything that I've spent during this month, fortunately I was preparing for this presentation. Katya told me not to show my budget. She was like, do not show your bank accounts. I would. But I prepared some fake data, okay? So yeah, I'm trying to make it bigger right now. I'm going to try my best. Let's see how well it works. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna also try to make it bigger. All right, so the idea is that I've created a few different categories. All right, so we spoke about different categories. So here's my categories, expense categories. And I know that they're small again. I'm gonna increase the size. I'll try to get out of the way. So I have bills, food, transport, health, education, purchases, entertainment, subscriptions. I have a separate one, and I'll explain each one of them. Gifts, child, travel, business, and then other. So with bills, I've been doing budgeting at this point for like 11 years. So I went through a lot of different like versions of what works for me. And with bills, before, I would want to know exactly how much am I spending on rent versus my internet versus my insurance, right? So I would split it further. At this point of time, I don't need that. I kind of like know what exactly goes into that category because I've built that muscle. So I just have bills. For the food, it's very similar, right? Katya brought this up. She was like, well, I want to know how much I spend on groceries versus restaurants. I used to have that. What that does is that then I have to go through each transaction and I need to separate it, was this specifically groceries or was this specifically a restaurant? So at some point I decided that those are close enough for me that I don't need to separate them. So I've just combined them again for food. So transport is everything car related, all the fixes and everything. And you can define these categories for yourself. Again, this is just a template that I'm more than happy to, I will share this with everyone. I will basically try to make a Google Sheet with formulas because I use the numbers. I use this, this is an Apple software. I like it a lot because it's in my iCloud as well. But I think Google is perfect as well. I started doing it before Google Sheets even existed. And then I have this second page that you can see it kind of connects to this tab, right? So it's two different tabs. And it has my projections and the actual. I can increase this, but those are basically two things. There's a projected column and actual column. So what happens is that when the new month starts, like today, or I guess tomorrow, I would basically duplicate this sheet. I would rename it to be June. And I would also duplicate this sheet, rename this to be June. And then I will change this date. And all my formulas are going to kind of connect together. And they will start pulling from this other sheet now. And I will delete all my transactions from here. And it should be all zeros for actual ones. So once I've duplicated all of this stuff, I will go through the projected expenses and try to kind of like ballpark it. I will try to predict how much am I going to spend into each category. This is the planning stage of budgeting. I like to think about budgeting in different stages. I think I had it somewhere in presentation as well. Yeah, here. I'll jump in here. Realistic steps to start budgeting and actually make use of the budgets. When Katya and I was sorry, I'm gonna pick on you because we spoke about this, and I told her like budgeting is important, it's fun, it's great. I know you wouldn't agree on the fun part, but I think it's fun. She was asking why should I do it, right? And the first thing I told her, like, it's not about planning in the beginning. In the beginning, it's just to simply track, kind of have a space where you can come and track all your expenses. Don't do anything with it. Don't analyze it. Don't look at it. Don't plan for the next month. just come in, dump all your transactions, and kind of build that process, right? Make that process very quick and efficient. If you can make that process into like 5 minutes, then the next process is going to be another 5 minutes, and then you're done with the budgeting for a month. So don't try to do all of it all at the same time. Start with simply tracking it. Only then, after you've done this for 3-4 months, you're like, okay, well now I'm actually interested in what the hell am I spending money on. Then you start analyzing your spending per categories. Then you start getting into this pyramid stuff. Only after that you can start predicting. Only then you can basically kind of compare. And that's what I like about this shit. Oh, there you go. I have my column with the projected expenses, and then my actual is right next to it. And I can literally compare how close I was with my projections and the actuals, right? I know it looks very close here because it's all fake. A lot of times I'm not that close. But it's usually in like a ballpark of $100 and $200, right? So over time you will get pretty good with this, and then you can start planning and projecting, and only after that you will know how much money you actually save, right? And so that will allow you an opportunity to know not just how much cash you have on your debit account at any given time, but it's actually on a monthly basis, how much money do I save? And that is, in business, it's a cash flow, right? So now you can see a lot of parallels between the P&L statements that we were writing on the whiteboard. And that's why those are important for the business. We should probably have started with this first, because it's your personal one. And it's also incredibly important. So here, you have projected, you have actual, then you get the savings. And then from here, I also have this one transaction that is investments. So if we go at the very bottom, I have, on the last day, I basically transfer a bulk of my savings, or how much I want to allocate to savings, specifically into the investments, right? And so then you can also see this visual, and you can go back to those percentages, 50, 30, 20 rules, and et cetera, and you can kind of clearly see that, okay, on the bills and stuff, you're actually pretty good. You can also like add food and transport into your needs, and you will see how much of the percentages do you spend on all of your different parts of life. Another thing that I like to add into my budgets is my net worth. I basically want to understand in total, where am I going in my life? Am I increasing my net worth? How much money in total I have? Or is it going down? Am I using a lot of savings to support my lifestyle? Or am I actually saving more and investing and things are good? This also shows me the trajectory of my investments as well, right? So if I bought real estate or I've invested into stocks, this is where I will be able to see months over months, how are those things doing? So I don't need to worry on them on a daily basis. I don't need to check my stocks every single day. I can do it while I'm doing budgeting. I just go into my trading account, I check how much money I have, and I put it here. So let's take a look. So I have a few bank accounts, right? And then I just put their values there. I have some cash, then I have a credit card debt, let's say, right? So in my budget, I actually don't have this, because we should not be having credit card debt. And we'll talk about that in a second. If anyone has credit card debt, you should try to pay it off as fast as you can. And I'll speak exactly about what I mean by the credit card debt. You should use your credit card. You should have a little bit on your statements, but don't carry a lot of credit card debt months over months over months. So that's why I don't have this in my budget. But if you do, again, put it in. You have to keep track of it, right? You want to know if that number is going down or not. Stocks, crypto, whatever other investments you have, startup investment. Then I like to have my equities, so my car, how much my car. So if I were to sell my car today, how much money would I get for it, right? If I were to sell my house today, what is the value of that? And then the mortgage for that house. And then I can quickly see a few things here. So first of all, how much cash I have on hand. If I needed to buy something right now, how much cash do I have for that? Okay, well then investments. And these are technically liquid investments, right? So what the liquid means is that if I wanted to sell them, I could sell them quickly. I can go to the stock market today or on Monday, sell all my shares, all my stock, and get cash in 2 days. But my house is illiquid asset, because if I want to sell a house, it'll most likely take me at least a month. That's why I have it separately in the equity column. So my car and my house, those are illiquid assets. They go into equities. Then I have my debts. And so my wealth is all these three things combined. So all my cash, all my investments, liquid and illiquid, minus that, I get my wealth. And then I also calculate my disposable total. Disposable total is basically things I can quickly get access to again. It's cash and liquid investments. So this is one approach, and this is my current approach to budgeting. This is what I do today, every month, and this is what I'm going to share with everyone. And you can just start from here. I'll show you a little bit. So this is the summary. It would be like an annual summary. So all those sheets, right, they would combine into this one, and then I can see one month by month. I can graph that out, and then I can compare multiple years. This is what I used to do earlier. It's very visual. Right? It was a lot of fun building this, and it was great. And I'll walk you through a little bit, just so that you can see the logic. And then I'll explain why I kind of got rid of this, and why I don't use it right now. But I would actually start using it again at some point. So what happens here is that I used to have, a family of 2 partners, and I wanted to keep track of, both of our incomes and see how things are moving and where exactly are they going. There was also extra incomes, and those are usually tax refunds or maybe rent payments that you get from your real estate investments, etc. I also try to account for the taxes because if you get money into your bank account, the taxes have been already withdrawn. That's good. But how about knowing how much exactly, what the insurance is, etc.? This is not needed, right? For when you begin, you don't need any of this. But it can get interesting because then you can plan ahead for health injuries. How much insurance do you have? If you were to have a child and you were to leave your job, how much parental leave could you get based on how much you have already paid into the government? Things like that. And again, different countries have different things. So then it comes to the total income. And I split it into 2 things. Home, and this is basically the needs, right? These are all the needs. These are the bills. And you can see before, I would split it into each section. Rent, that's what we call electricity in Canada. We call it hydro because we get it from the water. Then you get water. This was very confusing. When my first landlord called me, he was like, "Did you set up your hydro account?" I was like, "Yeah, we get water in there." He was, no, hydro is electricity. I was like, that does not make sense at all. So then I learned that hydro is electricity in Canada, and it's a joke that US makes a lot about Canada. So if you hear it in the TV shows, you'll now understand it. So internet, laundry, all of that stuff. So those were bills. I used to have a cat, then we have food, and the transport. Right. So I would split all these needs. And then I have expenses, and those are the ones. Studies, hobbies, health and beauty, clothes, personal items, entertainment, etc. Okay, after we've covered needs and wants, what about the savings? So why I did this whole thing is because I really wanted to know the buckets. How much are we saving for the child? So if we wanted to buy something big for our child, how do we plan for that? How do we allocate money for that? And I wish the bank apps would have this. I wish there were there are actually some other third-party apps that you need to connect your bank account into. You can create these buckets. But the thing here is that you get child, you get travel, and then I just store money. So this is basically like savings, but they're not allocated to any specific goal. So if we get a new goal, I would create this whole new thing, and then I would start allocating money there. And then finally, from everything that was stored, that goes into the investments. And then investments, of course, they take their own path, right? So there could be real estate investments, the stock, and I had many different accounts. Metals, I used to buy gold and silver bars, crypto, and different educational. So these are very similar to like IRA and 401k accounts. You still want to keep track of that. That still are your assets that you could use when you need them. So it was nice to kind of split it this way. So months over months, year over year, there would be this number here, total accumulated. At any given point of time, I could come here and I could see how much money I have on every single different like account, or how much we've accumulated for different things. So this is how complicated the budgets can get if you want them to, but they don't have to, right? They can be as simple as this. And you can dictate these categories. So now, let me show you how I do it in like 15 minutes. So I go to ChatGPT and I have created this application. This is something that I've created for myself, but it's also available for anyone, and Katya is also using it. So it must be good. So what I do here, the first thing, when I open it up, I just copy all my categories. I remove this. And I send it here. And it says, okay, well, I've got the categories. Now send me all transactions. And then I would go into my bank account that I was not allowed to disclose. And I would basically copy all these transactions. And I would bring them here. And I would just send them. And it would do this whole thing for me, right? So it would take all my crappy bank statement information, like it's not perfectly aligned, it's not like there's some buttons there. It will clean up everything and will just give me these rows and columns, and then I copy them and I paste them into my next months, right? So let's pretend this was my bank statement and this is my actual budgeting. So I would come here and I would just paste that. I don't need this. And then I would still go manually and just double check every category. And so this is still the point where I would get frustrated if I were spending too much, if I was doing a lot of transactions in the months. This is the point where that will get triggered. But I would just go through all these transactions and then they will get pulled in here. And that's it. That's all it takes me to do the budgeting at this point, right? Then I can start planning the next month. So this way I can keep track where I've overspent, where I have underspent, from where I can move money around and use them.
Can you share this application in the ChatGPT?
Yes.
With us?
Yep. Yes, I can. So it's publicly available to anyone. I will. You can search for it, but I will also share the link to it. So I will share the Google Sheet and the link to the ChatGPT application. It's free to use. I don't think you need any paid subscriptions in ChatGPT to use it anymore. So it will be free for everyone. How does that sound for everyone?
It's always good.
Was that?
About GPT.
Sorry?
So can you imagine like the system with AI, GPT, they know all of our bank accounts and our spendings, and it's a little bit freaks me out.
That's fair.
Only this one, but in general, the system is really good.
Right.
Really
Right. Yeah. Everyone can use it to whatever degree you're comfortable with, right? It's like if you're not comfortable sharing your transaction information to AI,
No, I mean,
don't. But
just probably future questions.
yeah. They must know a lot about all of us at this point, so I'm not too concerned. If they can help me save and invest and have more money, I'm fine with that.
To be honest, you can use a private model like a Llama.
That's true.
With this Llama, you can.
But it's still like in a system. I'm talking about like more. It's like kind of like my own information in the cloud.
No, so
But
that's
I
what
mean, like,
that's what that's what he's saying. So there are models that you can download and
Only on your PC.
yeah,
Yeah. If you want.
I think very soon we'll have more of that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Llama.
Yeah, if you use MacBook or Windows, you can install some application with like Llama.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can download all private for local
Code.
models.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can work in only on your PC.
Yeah.
You don't have any access to internet.
Exactly.
And it's working only on your PC. But if you want, you can provide access for self. I mean, with parole, with user parole, and you can use it at home. So, nobody don't have any access to this.
Yeah. It's coming as well. I think they're gonna do it on iPhones. They already kind of have it.
Yeah.
They do it locally, but then if they can't answer your question locally, they will go to internet. But yes, with Llama, you can totally run it on your computer and never share any data to anyone, which is really nice. All right, a few things that I would be on the lookout when actually like doing budgeting helps you to achieve and to understand is something that's in English called subscription creep. It's when you keep subscribing to different services and then you kind of like stop using them, but you keep paying for them. Right? So over time, they can add up. $20 here, $20 there. Over a course of 10 subscriptions, it's $200 a month that you could be investing, and you can use that money. So again, budgeting helps you kind of catch them early and just go and cancel them. Emotional spending after a stressful day, what I told, right? If you have to do it manually, then over time you're like, I'm not gonna spend it. You become much less emotional because you can clearly connect the numbers to different categories and you can kind of feel the pain if you're overspending on something that is not important to you, right? So all of us have these irregular expenses, the car repairs or somebody's getting married, somebody's having a kid, you kind of need a nice gift for them. That comes up, so budgeting helps you prepare for that. You kind of get this moment in your life where you can sit down and you can think through those things. Because when you need to put in the projected number, you're like, okay, well, what am I basing this number on, right? Is somebody's birthday coming up this month that I will need to spend more money on? Is it going to happen in 2 months from now? Is the New Year's soon? Should I be doing Black Friday deals early for my New Year's? Because now, you can connect those dots with budgeting and it gives you this just time to sit down and think through it. Also, another great thing with budgeting, this is going to come a little bit later when you do it year over year over year. You will see that the taxes come and you owe something, right? Or some kind of like an insurance, maybe like 6 months or annual insurance plan payment that you need to do, or any type of annual subscriptions. Things that you don't really budget for on a monthly basis, but then every year they come up. And so you've maybe projected that you need to spend $7,000 in this month of April, but then April passes by and all of a sudden you've spent $12,000 because you actually own some taxes and you had to pay $5,000. Well, guess what? Next April, you'll be projecting much better. You'll be like, shit, I should not forget about that. Just because you had, again, that moment where you had to connect the dots, right? All right, I'm ready to go into the credit cards and debts. Before we do that, let's do questions and break. Yes?
Yeah, it's not a question, it's kind of my personal experience with budgeting.
Okay.
With the savings. So I'll try to explain it in English, so forgive me if I can explain very properly.
Can you guys hear Katya? Be able to speak up a little bit?
Yeah, so we all have some psychological patterns, all of us. For example, some of us cannot spend money. We're like saving. Some of us, like all money which comes, all like spend everything. And so when I started to look at it, it was my psychologist. Basically, what she said that sometimes we have like kind of childish approach to our money, and that kind of was like, oh my goodness, yeah, that's really it. And sometimes we need to put that effort to be like more adult with our money. And start actually looking at it more like in adult way, not in child's way, because when you don't keep track of money, it's kind of like you are okay, whatever. It's good to start looking at it. Good to start saving money, and good to do budgeting, like because of, like for ourselves first, like. In the first place, yeah. So yeah, that helped me. So I wasn't wondering why I should do this. I was wondering why I should do this. It's so painful, it's so hard. It's
Existential.
Existential questions. Not because I know why I should do this. But it's very hard. But it's very hard at the beginning, and then when you like set up everything, and it's just so easy for me. It's very easy, very not painful at all. Some good thing is just I use the approach when savings are first for myself personally. Okay, I put my savings.
Pay yourself first.
I pay myself first. Put on savings, and the rest I can like do wherever.
Spend, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, and yeah, you can choose your own approach for this. And the other thing I wanted to ask you and to explain to others, also I
with ChatGPT?
No. The other thing that how many you should put on your rental comparatively to your income. That is a good point, because, for example, for me, if I pay for my rent too much, maybe I should lower my I don't know,
living standard. Usually the rule of thumb. Thanks so much, Kat. There is a lot that I want to like add.
I also have the fear of public speaking, so I'm kind of.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. A couple of things I will elaborate and add to what Katya said. So here there's a rule of, just usually in life, and it helps a lot, is 30% you should allocate to the rent and your housing expenses. Of all your income. It's like, if you can do that, that will most likely leave you enough room, enough money for other needs like food, transport, then the wants, and also investments. So usually it's 30%. And another thing I wanted to add is there was something really important. Can you do it again? The whole thing. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay, I'll come back.
After taxes?
30%? No. Yes. Yes, after taxes.
Because it's important.
Of course. Yeah. Don't count your money before taxes. That is, yeah. You will never see that money again. So just pay your taxes, pay your fair share. Look at how beautiful infrastructure here. We have tennis courts and public parks, and we have beautiful beach. I think, we do overpay a little bit in California. I wish it was lower. But we also get a lot of great benefits here. People actually spend tax money, I think, in America in a much more smart way than they do in other countries.
Yeah, when I looked at my previous month budgeting, and we laughed, like entertainment is just like 0.0, but I have so much of entertainment and it's all free.
All free, yeah.
Yes, it's amazing. It was like wow moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember, thank you so much. So you were talking about how it's a little bit childish to kind of like not really pay attention to your money. There is a different name for this. We were talking a lot about the biases last time. There's a name for this specific bias. It's called ostrich effect. Who knows what ostrich is? The bird, yes. How do you translate that? Strauss, thank you. So, effect Strauss. What happens is that you hide your head into the sand, pretending that if you don't see it, it's not a problem. Right? So you're like, I'm not going to do budgeting. If I don't see it, it's not going to be a problem. That is usually not the case, right? If airplane is going down and it's crashing and you close the window, well, you're still crashing. So yeah, try to be very mindful of that. Try to approach money and budgeting in an adult way. Be responsible with it. Kind of face yourself. Basically use it as a mirror to look at yourself, look at your priorities, and look at where you can get more power. Because the more tools you have, and money is a tool, the more power you will have.
And peace of mind.
Peace of mind as well.
What about cash? If you spend cash, how you fix it? You always
Exactly.
every day.
There is another way to do it. The way I do it is when I get the cash. For example, I take cash from ATM. I just put that as an other expense.
Okay.
Right? So you just put like, you've withdraw $500 or $1,000, you just put that as an expense, as one thing. If you don't want to do the receipts and stuff. Yeah, you still keep track of it, right? It won't be as detailed as it could be. Another thing I did want to say, so going back to the automation, so I showed you the ChatGPT. That's a good way to automate it because you're not fully kind of like, letting things go. I did download the YNAB app. So YNAB is like one of the most popular budgeting apps. I actually recorded the video. I'm going to share it on Telegram, like me signing up for it and trying to use it. It's 8 minutes. I honestly didn't find it that useful. And it asks you to pay money for it. It's $15 a month. Then you need to connect your bank account as well. So that's the point. Again, they will have all your data. I think if you start with this and you literally spend 15 minutes a month, it's free.
It's not 15 minutes, okay? It's just... okay,
Damn, Katya.
half an hour at least.
All right.
It is a good investment. Like we have brokers.
It's like, you know how when you come to Prokinsa at 7 a.m. and you're like, shit, like I'm so tired. I don't want to do this. It's rainy or like it's crappy weather. And then 10 minutes into it, you're like, this is fun. I'm doing it. This is great. I'm staying here for an hour. Oh, it's ended? That was fast. So it's kind of like that. So give yourself a first 15 minutes and then the 30 minutes is going to pass and you won't notice.
After that, very enjoyable
Yeah.
to see it.
Yeah.
And to compare months with months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I know how much I spend on my cat. It's just like...
That's why I would probably, I wouldn't have a dog. I would rather have a child because the expenses here are ridiculous. All right, let's take a break. Let's take 5-10 minutes of break. I will remember everyone about the SMART goals. If you want to take this moment of time to do the SMART goal for yourself for the next 2 weeks, that would be great. Okay, all right. I hope you had a pretty good break. And right now we are going to talk a lot about credit card debt. For some people it's a sensitive topic, and for others it's not so much. I would love to ask everyone if you want to share. You don't have to share, but if you want to share, who here has credit card debt? Raise your hand. Yeah, if you have debt on your credit card at this moment.
But you mean that...
No, I mean the one that is like going months over months over months. The one that you have to pay down, right? You've spent $20,000 and you didn't pay it back and you have it. Okay, thank you for sharing. I will try to explain what usually happens when you have credit card debt and why it can be incredibly beneficial to pay it off, right? And how to actually do it so that you have a good credit score. How do you use the credit card in the right way? And try to avoid. Of course, life happens to all of us, and like we just need access to money. But there are also different ways to restructure the debt that you have. So you can borrow money in different ways and pay off your credit cards, and then pay less percentages, things like that. So we can talk about that. But basically, I'm gonna talk first about different terminology. When we deal with credit cards, so first of all, I think this is a pretty good summary. So this is what the bank would give us to see. And this is all for one credit card, right? So there's a lot of different numbers here. I want to go through all of this different terminology and kind of explain what this means, what is good, what is bad, and how to use it in the best way possible. And then I will take you through kind of like a scenario. So I've created this calendar, right? And I will kind of walk you through it, and hopefully you can follow along and understand. But if you don't, ask questions, okay? I think this is one of the very important topics in your life, in financial life, because if you have credit card debt, don't invest into stocks or any assets. Pay off credit card debt first. Because if your credit card, I don't think, here. If your credit card APR, annual percentage rate, so this is how much bank will make on the money that you borrowed from them, right? So here's an analogy that I like to think about. So think about the bank as your friend, right? So you have a friend, maybe you have somebody here in the community that you feel comfortable coming up and saying, hey, can you borrow me $10,000, right? I really need it for something. You take $10,000 from your friend, and then 1 month passed, you return only $1,000, right? So your friend gave you $10,000, expecting $10,000 back in 1 month, but you only gave them one. What do you think your friend is going to think about you? Not really good things. Yeah. That you should really owe them money, and they should probably never give you money again, right? Because it's your friend, maybe they didn't ask you for percentage, right? They didn't ask you like, oh, if you don't give me all $10,000 in 1 month, like we're just not going to be friends anymore, but you don't owe me anything else. Just please pay me $9,000 back. We'll just call it there. What the bank does, because they're not your friend, they're the business, they tell you if you don't pay $9,000 extra, so if you don't pay the full amount, this is how much we are going to charge you. So this 24% annually, right? So in a year, not in that one specific month. So what you do is, let's say this is 24, right? This, just to make it simple, is 24% in a year, which is exactly 12 months. So every month you will own 2% more on your $9,000. Let me see if I can do this here. If we take $9,000 and add 2%, just for you to use this $9,000 in 1 month, you're paying $180 additional money on those $9,000 to the bank. And then the next month, you will pay not $180, but $183.50. So this is a very early introduction to the compounding interest, and we will talk about that. So what happened here is that in the first months we've added 2%, and then in the next months we've added 2% to the new sum, right? Not to $9,000, but to the new number. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and just quickly run through all of this stuff. So I will start with the total credit limit. Kind of highlight. So total credit limit is how much you can spend on your credit card in any given moment of time. So if you were to take your credit card to the store and buy, goods, you can spend $14,100 in this scenario. When you spend some money, that money first go into the pending charges. So pending charge means that, the bank can't really know exactly what happened there. But what happens is that the store tells the bank that we should charge this credit card for $300. there is a series of transactions that's happening behind the scenes, because the bank now needs to go to the merchant bank and talk to them and see, if they can borrow money from them in order to cover this transaction and things like that. So they put it as a pending charge for 2 business days usually. When those pending charges are settled, right? So the word settled, then it comes and is added to your current balance. So right now, the debt on this card is not just $5,600. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. It's actually both of these numbers, and you can calculate these numbers either by adding these two, or looking at the available credit. So my total credit is $1,400, and the available credit is $8,000. If I were to take $1,400 and deduct $8,000, I would get the exact same number as these two numbers, right? So if this is 5,945 is how much I've spent. If I add the expenses, this should come to the 0, right? So these, again, the total credit minus available credit is how much you spent in total. Current balance plus pending charges is how much you owe to the bank. So the closing dates, what happens in the banks is they don't look at your balance every single day. They look at it in the monthly patterns, right? And usually, if you come to the bank and you open a credit card, on that day, when you open it, they just start from that day. So it doesn't start from August 1st or some kind of first date of months. It will start wherever you open it. So I've opened it on 19th of some months and some year. So every 19th or next or previous business date plus or minus a day, this will be a closing date. So what happens on the closing date? We will take a look in the calendar view. Okay. So this is a balance on last statement. So the last statement was on May 19th, right? Today is May 31st. So this was May 19th. When that came, I owed the bank $4,000. So my remaining statement balance is $4,000 because I didn't pay it off yet. And I will explain why. I plan to pay it all. This is going to be paid fully by June 19th. By the next, no. There will be a different date. This due date, June 16th. So this is important. This is when you get your statement. So this is when the bank looks at all your expenses and say, okay, in the past months, this is how much you've spent. This is how much you owe us. And you must pay it by this day. And you can see payments are due on the 16th of every month. I could request a new date, but I don't need it. It's fine. So here we can also see the last payment that I did on May 15th. So May 15th, I paid $4,000. And on May 19th, I still own the bank $4,000. Why did I pay these $4,000? Why would I just not wait for the bank to give me a statement for $8,000? Does anybody know? To avoid charges?
Is this 30%?
No. 30% of what?
Of total credit limit.
Yes. Why is that important?
Because you can't spend more. It's bad for your credit score.
Exactly. It has an impact on your credit score. So what that is called is the credit utilization rate. So what it looks at, so there is a credit bureau, right? Another company that is not the bank. Banks don't do this. They don't care. But they use the credit bureau. It looks at all of your banks, because you can have credit cards in 5 banks, whatever. It takes all of your total credit limits from all the cards that you have. It adds them up. And then it looks at all your statements across all the banks, and it adds them up. So this number must be less than 30% of your total available credit limit. If it's below the 30%, that your credit score is not going to be impacted. It's going to be in a good standing, right? So your credit score is going to stay the same or keep growing because the credit bureau and the bank, they think that you understand how to use credit in a reasonable and a smart way. You don't overspend, you don't over borrow, you keep it under 30%. Then there is a minimum payment. Minimum payment, I think it's like an evil in a bank. I don't know why they have it, and I think it's probably to confuse people and to actually make money on people. Because the minimum payment here is $43, is due on June 16th, right? If you didn't know what the hell is going on in all these numbers, you'd come in, you'd be like, okay, well, all I'm going to pay is $43. If you pay $43, what you avoid is paying the late payment fee. So there is a late payment fee, which could be like $20, let's say. So if I didn't pay anything to the bank, if I didn't pay anything, I would pay late payment fee, and I would get an interest to my statement balance. But if I pay $43, I don't pay a late payment fee, but I still pay 24% divided by 12, 2% a month on all the money that I owe. All of it, like 43, 58, and we will learn that not minus, so when I was preparing for this, I did more math because I've never been in those scenarios, but apparently, so $4,358 minus 43, right? So let's do the math. 4,358 minus 43. So $4,315, that's what I thought I'm going to pay a percentage on. But that's not the case. I will actually pay a percentage on the full amount of money because what the bank does is they look back on the date when I borrowed that money, when I spent that money, and they say, oh, hey, he was using this money for like 2 months now. We are going to backtrack. We're going to go back and add the percentages to every day that he was using it. So this number is unbelievably confusing, and it puts you into debt, and that compounds, and then it's really hard to get out of the debt, as we will learn why. So if you see minimum payment, what is important here is the due date. Only look at the due date, which is June 16th, and pay your full balance on the last statement. Then you can keep living your life and never pay any percentage to the bank. All right, what is the cash advance? Who knows what cash advance is? Anyone? So what?
How much you can use from this limit as a cash? How much you can withdraw?
Okay. That is, yes, that's true. Was there another option here?
No, from the cash machine, how much you can cash.
Yeah. So from the credit card, you can get cash, right? Fortunately, what the banks did, I think, depends on the bank as well. In their app, you can't move money from credit card to your checking account, right? But that would technically be getting the cash into your checking account. That's why a lot of times you can't pay your rent with credit cards. You can't pay your rent with the credit card because if you remember, before all the digital banking was here, we used to pay rent by the check from your checking account. So what happens when you pay rent is you actually pay in cash, and that's why you can't pay in credit card unless you pay huge percentage. And you can see that the cash advanced APR is much higher. It's much higher because what happens in the banks, they don't actually have that much money that they give to people. So this is a little bit of a tangent, but what happens is when you come to the bank and you put in $100 of your deposits into the bank and they have $100 of your money on the checking account, they are allowed to use, I think, up to 80% of that, or maybe even 90%, as a borrowing against those funds. So what they can do is when you put $100 in their checking account, they could basically give somebody else a loan for $190. They don't have $190 to give, but they give it as a credit card. So that's why when you buy it in a credit card, it's a little bit less, because when you take cash, they have to actually get the cash out of their system. So that's why they charge you a higher percentage, because it's so much more expensive for them. You should never get any cash from your credit card. That's basically the lesson. Try to avoid it at all times. The reason why? Because this percentage, it hits you right away. You don't have any months to pay it up. You took the money out of your ATM today, overnight, you're paying 30% divided by 365 days. You're paying 30% annual rate on whatever cash you took. It's from that day. So it's going to compound very quickly. For them, they're losing so much money on this, they don't want you to do this, but if somebody does, they're going to make their fair share. So never take cash advance from your credit cards.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you take money in a few days before this due date,
Due date, yeah.
it will be charge your the account. This all like you can, because I remember in Ukraine it's if you take money you have 1 month
To pay it back.
Yeah, but I don't understand if I will take it.
So with cash advance, specifically with cash advance,
No cash like.
just the regular transactions. Yes, regular transactions, you have a 1 month, technically 2, to pay it off. Yeah, with cash advance, that percentage will hit that same day. There is no grace periods, there is nothing. It will hit you right away. Okay, so now, are there any questions about any of these terminology? Is this clear as day?
Can we don't use
Credit cards? You can. I think it would be a little bit unproductive to not to use them because the system exists. The credit scores are important. If you want to be buying a house and things like that, basically what happens with the credit card, it's almost like a trial version to see if you understand how the debt and cash flow works. If you understand this terminology and you understand how this process works, then the bank feels much more comfortable giving you a bigger loan for the house. So the credit card is like a small little simulation game for you to play. You really don't, you don't need to use it, right? You have cash, you pay for your rental, you pay for, your cars and everything out of your cash, really just in 1 month's time window. So, but what happens if you run it through the credit cards, then credit bureau and the bank, they understand that you know how the borrowing works, how like the percentages work, when you need to pay off and why do you need to pay that off. So that's like a test for them to see how good you are with all of those things. When you want to buy a house or a car, but then or have a business, right? If you want to have a business and take a business loan, they will use your personal credit history as well, and they will see and understand how much money they can trust you with. So going back to that friend analogy, if I came to a friend and asked them, hey, can you give me $10,000? And they give me $10,000, and in 1 month I come back and give them $10,000, well, they feel good. They're like, okay, nothing happened, right? If I keep doing it every single month for like 5 years, and then I come and say, hey, can you also give me like $60,000? He'll be like, this guy has never not paid me, and I have this cash, why wouldn't I give it to him, right? So you build this trust with the bank through this credit card. And I think it's important to do that if you plan to do more things in your life here in the States. Any other questions at this point?
It's also working for security card, credit card, I mean.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Because for my experience, it's not working because, okay, maybe I show you something in my statement and maybe you...
Yeah, we can take a look at that. Usually, the secured card basically means that they don't trust you yet, right? And they are willing to give you credit card to see how you're going to use it, but at all times they want to make sure that there is cash that is in your account that they could use in order to cover the credit card if you start kind of losing track of it and start overspending or not paying it off. They might also not let you use it until you pay. So let's say it's a $500 secured card. You have $500 in your checking account that you can either use, but you're required to have it every single day at the end of the day, or there's all these different variations of this. But what happens is that basically when you hit that $500, and let's say you don't pay it off in 1 month, they will basically freeze your card. Because it's such a small amount for them, they will be like, okay, let's see does he understand what's going on here? Like basically they kind of give you a lesson. They might not give you a percentage. Again, it all depends, right? What the card is and what the bank is. They will tell you like, hey, you can't use this card anymore. You have to pay it down. And they know that you have that money on your checking account. So they will wait for you to cover the expense. But then you still can't use it until you put those $500 in your account again. So that's how it works. But we can take a look at that. Okay. I'm going to run quickly through this scenario, right? I'm going to use the same dates but different amounts from what we just saw, so it's a little bit fresh. So April 17th is when the new statement period begins, right? What I did, I'm going to share this link with everyone again. I've put all this terminology here and every definition, right? So everything that you will see kind of like, and you are not sure about, you can look it up. You can also do something like this. You can take a screenshot, go into ChatGPT, I don't know if I'm going to be able to use it now. Okay. Shoot. And you can basically ask ChatGPT what the hell is going on there. What is going on here? And hopefully if it can read the text. This is a flowchart or decision tree that maps out the credit card reward system. So it'll try to explain it to you all in fine print, and you can keep asking questions, right? So a lot of different ways to learn things, and it's just so incredible with AI right now what's possible. With April 17th starts the statement period that will end on May 17th, right? So you have 1 month of life. And on April 25th, you spend $1,000. You keep living life, you don't pay it off, it's somewhere there, it's on your credit card. It will go into the current balance. So first it will go into pending charges, then it will go into current balance, and that will decrease your available credit by $1,000. So on May 5th, you spend $2,000, and that will do the same journey. It will go into pending charges, it will go into the statement, the current balance, and then on May 17th, it will be a statement date. So on this statement date, the bank will lock the $3,000 that you've spent as a debt. They will tell you, okay, this guy has spent $3,000 in this months of April 17th to May 17th. And they will tell me they will issue the minimum payment due and the payment due date, right? So remember, we ignore the minimum payment because that's a tricky thing. But we really care about the payment due date. June 16th here. And we're still not paying anything off. We're still living our life. Our credit statement has dropped. It has $3,000. That's fine. We have a payment due date June 16th. Then the May 17th, we spend another $500. Right? So in total, our current balance right now is $3,500. Our statement balance, so if we were to go back here, our current balance is $3,500. Pending charges is 0. The balance on last statement is $3,000. Remaining statement balance is $3,000. Right? So those are the numbers that we are working with here. And then June let's actually say June 14th comes, right? No, fine. It's June 16th. So this period between May 17th and June 16th, in the banks, it's called grace period. They basically look at this and they say, hey, this guy didn't pay their debt. They have $3,000 in debt. We will give him a grace period. We're still not really like nervous here. We will give him another month to pay it off. I must pay $3,000 here. So remember, you always want to pay the full statement balance. You don't need to pay these $500 yet. You will need to pay them on the next statement, right? So when June 17th comes and you get a new statement date, you will get $500 locked in as a debt, and then you pay these $500 on July 16th. Okay? So, but on June 16th, you must pay $3,000 that you locked in on the May 17th here. And then it gets very, very interesting. So if you paid all $3,000, you paid them all, that's awesome. You didn't pay any interest nor fees. You're good to go. You proved to the bank that you know how the credit works, you used the credit card, you had a statement balance, and you paid it off in full, you returned all the debts, and you will get the next statement for $500, and you will do this again and again and again, and your credit score is going to keep climbing up. If you didn't pay all $3,000 here, it depends on what happened with the minimum payment due. So if you paid less than the minimum payment due, remember we have this minimum payment, so $43. If you didn't pay anything, you didn't pay absolutely anything to them, you will get a late payment fee, and this will also apply, and we'll get here. If you pay more than the minimum payment due, but less than $3,000, so you came here, and let's say you paid $50, not 43, you paid 50. You're like, oh, whatever, 54. It's not a lot, I'll pay 50. I'm such a cool guy. So you pay $50. What you really avoided is just the late payment fee. But the following will still apply. So what the bank is going to do is they will backtrack the interest on the current balance. On the current balance here. This is important. What is our current balance in this situation? Who can tell me? What's the number? What is our 3,500. Our current balance is 3,500. Our statement balance is 3,000. Our current balance is 3,500. And this is important because you would think, that's what I thought. I thought, okay, well, fine, I didn't pay $3,000. I'm just going to get percentage on $3,000. But no. This was a grace period. And now, if during the grace period you didn't pay the full amount, the bank is freaking out. They're like, wait a second, they might not know what they're doing here. We will charge them for all transactions, everything that you've spent up until that point. So they will backtrack the interest on the current balance. And here's 3 formulas that they will use. For this, we will assume the 20%. So not 24, 20%. Here's the formula. They go and take the $1,000 and they will apply the interest. So what the interest is? They take $1,000, they take the percentage and divide it daily. They take 20% and divide it by 365 days. And then they multiply by the number of days since the transaction. So April 25th is when you borrowed this much money. So they will literally go transaction by transaction. Fortunately, the computers help them make it very quickly and simple. They go day by day, transaction by transaction, and they will apply this formula. And you will pay 20, so what happens here is 20%, which is 0.2, if we were to convert it into the math, 0.2, divided by 365, it's this number. This is how much interest, so we put this point 2 times here. It's 0.0548% you pay every single day. It was 52 days since April 25 to June 16, right? So from April 25 to June 16 is 52 days. And they will literally calculate the plain, this is a plain percentage. They will just take 52 days and apply this percentage to $1,000. This is not a compounded interest. This one is going to be flat. They will take every day, see how much percentage you own every day, and apply it to $1,000. They will do the same with $2,000 and $500. The only difference is the days. So here it was 42 days and here was 27 days. In total, you will owe the bank $81.90 as an interest on all your $3,500 current balance. The worst thing that starts from here is the compound interest. After June 16, the compound interest on the monthly statements start. And fortunately, the rest of this lecture is going to focus just on the compound interest. So we'll take a look at what that is and why it is so important to be paying off this debt. Because from there on, it's going to be incredibly hard to pay it off. You will be fighting 24% every single, 2% every single month. It's the same as if you take your money and you invest it into the stock market. You will only get, on average, for the past 40 years, 7% interest. So you can make 7% on the stocks, but you owe the bank 24%. You're just not making enough to cover what the bank makes on you. Okay? That is why it's so important. Are there any questions at this point?
Yes, I have a couple.
Please.
What about others?
No, go ahead.
Okay, first question. Let's say we have all this process, etc. So twice a month, and like I'm covered this not just a minimum, not a minimum payment, but like
current balance.
Current one, yes. And I'm doing that, let's say, twice a month
Yes.
or 3 times a month.
Yes.
Is it going to somehow impact my
Credit score?
How long you can do that, and like, what is like the advice?
So the advice is this: you wait for your statement date, and you make sure that when the statement date comes, you have 30% or less of this number according to all of your credit available. So if you do this, then it means that the credit bureau, so the bank knows that you're borrowing this money, but the credit bureau doesn't. And so credit bureau gets only this statement from the bank. That's why it's important to not pay off everything before the statement date, but everything before the grace period ends. So what happens in your situation is that, yes, you can pay 2 times, you can pay 3, 4, it doesn't matter how many times you pay. What's important is that on the statement date, your current balance is less than 30% of your total credit. So I'm gonna say this again. Current balance is less than 30% of your total credit on the statement date, right? So here, next closing date is June 19th. In this case, I have to make sure that my current balance is less than 30% of $14,000, and I'm fine with that. That way, the credit bureau will know that I owe money to the bank. I actually use the credit card, and then the next month they will see that I'm still staying under the 30%. I'm staying under 30% because I paid it off in full, and I've spent some new money, right?
Yeah.
So then your credit score is going to go up.
So you already answered my second question. It's like I have never paid any attention to this like statement.
Yes.
Today I didn't care. It was paid.
Right.
And again, I'm using it just for like making my credit score better. Not
Right.
because like I need to do that. But again, it's like a free money, so we can
That's
use it,
right.
like as into Okay, one more question. Like sometimes we have this like special. Oh my gosh, how do you call it? I put it in English. When it's like come back money, return money.
Yes, the points, right?
Points, refund, bonuses, I don't know. Like
The cashback.
points,
The
yeah,
cashback.
Yes, cashback. Okay, so and once I did that I paid, and plus I added cashback or something, and my balance was like minus.
Negative, yeah.
Negative. And then it took, so actually I'm like so rich that I have like negative balance, but it was like vice versa, because like it impacted my credit score in negative way. So
Crazy.
yeah,
That is
so
crazy.
It's like something strange.
So the banks really don't like you, and I think Alex, you said that last time, that sometimes you have a minus on your credit card.
Yeah.
They don't quite like that. The reason why is because now they owe you money, right? Because I don't think they will actually pay you any percentages on that. But so the credit bureau maybe thinks like, again, it's like, what does this person do, right? Like, why are they overpaying this credit card?
You like paid off, but then you returned some.
That could happen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thing a couple times.
Exactly. So in these situations, try to go and spend that money.
Okay.
By the way, some banks started to send the checks at the end of the period.
They do that as well. Yep. So they will just send you the check for that money as an outstanding. Because again, they don't want to pay you any interest. They don't want that money. They don't need it.
And if you stay under 30%, but you don't pay, for example, too much, it will be
You will get an interest. So what happens if you don't pay, if you don't pay the minimum payment due, you will get the late payment fee. You will get the percentage. It will start compounding. So over time, it will grow to more than 30% if you don't do anything, right? So that's how the credit bureau is going to know that you're not paying off, because it just keeps climbing up and up and up. But if you don't pay it off, they will also send that as a separate thing. So the bank will just let them know that you haven't actually paid off the statement. So they will know that, even if it's like 15%, they will still know that you missed the payment. And that will hit your credit score again. You have to pay the whole thing. You can take the money, you can use them, but the statement date, so you can use all $14,000 every single month. But if you pay 11,000 of it, or like 10, whatever the 30% is, before the statement date, that's all that matters. Okay? And then you pay the full amount in that grace period as well. So you close the full current balance. So again, current balance under 30% before the next closing date of your total credit limit. And then you have to pay your balance statement, right? So you, again, if we go back to this calendar here, you don't need to pay $3,500. You don't pay the full current balance. You pay your statement balance. This is your statement balance. You have to pay that because the grace period is for the statement. But if you don't pay it, if you don't pay all of these $3,000, then they will also take those $500 and start adding interest to them as well, because they're like freaking out. Okay?
So basically, the less than 500, like that which is left,
Yes.
you will pay next month.
Exactly. You want that just to carry over.
Not like late fee or something. It just
No fees. No. Exactly. Exactly. Does this make sense to everyone? All these dates and types of different like amounts?
How to do it more easier?
Automatic payments. So you can see I didn't do them. My automatic payments are off because another forcing function for me to do the budget, another forcing function for me to actually go and do it myself, right? To feel that pain, like I wanna stay on top of that. But I think automatic payments here are also incredible and you can set them up. When you set them up, make sure you set it up for the full statement balance, not the minimum payment. Minimum payment is not going to do much. Always close the full statement, and you can do this, and this is great. All you need to make sure here is that you have enough cash in your checking account, right? Because if you don't have enough cash in checking account, then you will get the draft fee, the overdraft fee, because they tried to get this cash, but there wasn't enough. So they will charge you like $30, $40. And then your interest, your last statement balance hasn't been covered either. So make sure you have enough in checking, and then you can set up this automatic payments. I think that's a really good way to do this.
So for automatic payments, you shouldn't like choose the current balance?
No, I would do the last statement balance.
Oh shit, I usually do current balance.
That's fine. It's just better if you keep something in your current balance for the statement to hit the credit bureaus.
Oh.
Right? Because if you set up the automatic payment for the current balance, then it looks like it's always zero. It's almost like you don't use the credit card at all.
Yeah, I almost that's the point.
That's that's the choice to make, like whether you're comfortable using it or not.
No,
but
I mean,
yeah, your credit score.
Like for a score.
Yeah, the credit score is gonna.
Use that.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. So I almost usually use like a current balance to pay in a day.
Yeah, it just might take longer time for your credit score to grow.
Oh.
So you're not gonna pay any interest. Like you're fine. The only thing here is just the credit score. That's the only difference. Okay. All right. Now we need some lights. Oh, okay. I have some more things to do here. All right. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the different like promotions that you get in your mail, right? Sometimes you get a mail from the bank and they tell you, hey, if you open a credit card with us, you're gonna get 0% promotional APR for like 3 months. Or if you transfer your balance to our bank, there's gonna be 0% for 6 months. What that means is it's actually an incredible tool if you're trying to get out of the debt, credit card debt. What you can do is you can actually take them up, but please make sure you're actually going to do it. You're actually going to use this to pay it off. Because if you don't, usually these banks, for this specific promotions and stuff, they give you a higher percentage because they know that you're risky. And I actually didn't look into this, but I would imagine they will also charge you all 6 months back. That's possible if you don't fully close that. So for them, it's super cool. For them, it's beneficial. Bring your money from Chase Bank to Bank of America. Now we're going to be making money instead of Chase Bank. But for you, you can use this if you actually plan to close it. If you know for sure in the next 6 months, you're going to get enough savings, right, to close this out. Then for the next 6 months, you're not going to be getting any additional interest on any of the amount that you have. And you will have this 6 months runway to just pay it off. So a very good thing. I mean, at that point, your credit score is probably, yes, because you're opening a whole new account and you already have a balance. So you might already have your credit score pretty low, right? Because you've been missing payments. But at least you can get out of this problem, out of the compounding interest, and start growing your credit score again. This is an interesting one. So my Chase Bank, they sometimes give me an option for some big transactions. Like if I buy a laptop for like $2,000, they tell me, hey, you know what? Actually, this is a big transaction. We can give you 12 months 0% rate, 0% monthly payments. Break it into 12 months payments and don't pay any interest on that. Okay. I actually never clicked on it. I never used it until a few months ago when I mean, just purely out of interest here, I was like, okay, how do they do it? Is it actually 0%? I clicked on it, and what it had is it didn't have any interest, but it had a fee.
Basically the same.
And it was like $40 fee, so it's a flat fee per month. But I calculated, and it was like about 6 to 8% of the full amount, right? So they're still making their money. And I was like, okay, this is bullshit. I know there's also like all these services like Klarna, and there's a few of these services that allow you on the shopping websites. You go to Nordstrom, they have this button like pay 0% for 6 months and break it into like these payments. Always read about the fees. Sometimes the services literally do allow you to do that because they hope they're going to catch somebody not paying it off and they're going to start getting their interest. But a lot of times there's just a fee. And it looks like a fee is smaller than the interest. It looks like 10 bucks a month, 15 bucks a month. Just add it up. Add up all 12 months and divide it by the amount and you will get like 7-8%. And that's the same amount if you invest into stock market, and that's the guaranteed one because you get in the fees. So, there's no free lunch in English, right? That's the same, there's no free lunch.
Well, maybe happy hours.
Happy hours, exactly. The 0% promotional could be a happy hour. Okay, I'm gonna be, I don't know. I might need a whiteboard at some point. So I might turn on the lights in a second, but for now we don't. So I really want to shift the gears a little bit. I want to ask you this question. If I gave you the choice, I give you $1 million today, or I give you 1 penny, that doubles every day for 30 days, which one would you choose? Okay, 1 million. You get 1 million today, or just 1 penny?
How much it would be like in a 30-day one?
Yes. What do you think it's going to be?
I'm not that good in the math. That's the deal.
Okay. Intuitively. Which deal is better? Okay. Who is taking $1 million today?
We need to count.
All right. Okay.
That's a psychological question because tomorrow can never be.
Yes.
That is a good point. What are you going to do with your $1 million then?
I can invest it the same way somewhere.
No, but if there is no tomorrow. But I get your point. That's a good point. And then who is taking 1 penny? And everybody else is undecided, yes? Everybody is still calculating. Okay, good. Okay, geometric progression. I like hearing those things. I love it. So in this particular scenario, 1 penny is going to give you $5 million. What?
I switch to pence.
It's 1 cent. 1 cent. 1 cent doubled just for 30 days is $5.5 million.
No way, how come?
Every minute, every.
It counts just daily. Every day ends. 1 day ends. It's doubled.
It's a half of penny enough.
Exactly. So how much money are you going to have in this scenario? How much money you will have if you wait for 1 more day?
10, 11.
Yeah. So if you were to wait just 1 more day, you will have 10 million, then 20, then 40, then 80, and that was only 35 days. So in 35 days, you will have $80 million. There is also another story, maybe you've heard it. There was a young man who came to the king, and he showed the king a game of chess. The king loved the game. He thought it was an incredible game, incredible invention. And he said to the young man that he can ask for whatever he wants. The young man asked for 1 grain of rice that is put on a first square of a chessboard. And then for every next square, it's doubled. By the time, so the king accepted because he thought it was foolish. He thought it's a dumb thing. It doesn't sound like a lot. By the time they got to the 20th square, no, the 40th square, they ran out of all the rice in the whole country. And there's 64 squares in the chessboard. It's basically the compounding rule that we people do not have intuition for. Our intuition doesn't work for it. It just does not. Because we are linear. We know that yesterday the sun came out, we've spent some energy, we've did some things. We drove for like 100 kilometers in our car. And tomorrow we wake up and we think, okay, well, maybe I can drive for 150 kilometers or 200. The day after that, maybe 300. In the exponential growth, right? So there's a linear growth. This is probably maybe the only chart I'm going to draw today. So the linear growth happens like this, just straight line. It could have different angles, right? It could grow slower. It could grow faster, but it's linear, right? The exponential growth looks like this. And again, it could have slightly different angles. It could go for much slower. But the idea is that it takes some time to accumulate the foundation, and then it just takes off. No. No formulas yet. Who can give me a good example of a real-life compounding interest rule? The simplest one you can think of.
Trash.
What is it?
Trash.
Trash? Why?
It's accumulating every day.
Okay. How much trash accumulates every day? I like that example. I like it because it gives us... Right, so if you drink 4 bottles of water every day, 4 bottles a day, how many people do we have in this scenario? How many? 2 people? Okay. So we have 2 people. They spend 4 bottles a day. This is day 0. This is 1. This is 2.
Each 4 bottles.
Yes. This is 8. Sorry. This is okay. This would be how many bottles we spent, right? 1 bottle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. So if it's 2 people for 4 bottles a day, the first day we spend 1 bottle. So the first day comes, we spend 8 bottles. The second day comes, we spend 2 bottles, right? So, okay, this was a good example. I was basically thinking on like a daily, I wanted to draw this. Like every day it doesn't change, right? But it accumulates. And so we start here, right? So we get to 8 bottles, and then 16 bottles, and then 32 bottles, and then 64 bottles, and so this is day 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And you can see how we are growing exponentially.
It's like you drink a beer. 1 bottle is nothing, 2 bottles nothing. What was that fix?
That it compounds, yeah. Yeah?
It's real out. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So, turns out, if we go back to this example, right, people were trying to kind of calculate it. And one way to do it is like the same way we learned the multiplication, right? It's like we can add numbers. So if it's 5 multiplied by 6, we can do 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 6 times. Or we can shrink it and learn a formula. The same way we have a formula for compounding interest. So instead of doubling everything every time and going 8, 16, 32, 64, etc., we can just plug in the numbers and get the final answer right away. Right? So why is this important? Well, it's important because our investments, they compound over time. The reason why they compound is because if we invest $500 today in the stock market, so again, this is 0 day, this is 1 day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So we have all these days. And this would be how much money we get, right? So it starts at 500. And then let's assume 10% interest. Actually, sorry, these are going to be years, okay? So these are not days, these are years. And you know how always you hear S&P 500 gave us 7% this year, right? It doesn't tell you that S&P 500 gave you $70 a year. It tells you the percentage. So every time, so the 10% in the first year, from $500 investment, you make 10%, you go to $550, right? Then on the second one, you get 10% now on $550. So that would be 550, 10%, $55, 605. Somewhere here, right? $605. So on the second year, you're now up to $600. Just in 2 years, you've already made $100. Then you get a 10% again, but on $600. So now you've made 665 point something. Sorry, it's 660.5. And it just keeps going. I hope this is accurate. It's not quite like this, but it usually goes. I think the very first time I draw it, it was pretty good. It usually goes like this. So your investment into the stock market, or real estate for that matter, or any type of investment, it usually grows exponentially, right? So this is exponential growth, or in a compounding way. It's very unintuitive for us because it usually takes 40 years to get to this point because we start with the small numbers. As you can tell, with the rice or with the penny, it's like 1 multiplied by 2 is just, but that's the 2 multiplication. We're talking about the 10%, usually 5%, and it's on average, right? So some years you might jump a little bit higher, but then you come back. If you flatten it out, if you smooth it out, this is what it's gonna look like. And here's a calculator. There's a whole bunch of calculators online to do this, but it allows you to calculate exactly how this will look like. So if I were to invest $5,000 today, let's say I have this in my checking account, and then every single month I would put another $50. For 50 years, let's do 30 years. You know what? Let's do 10 years first. I put 5% of interest, and it compounds annually, right? So we're going to calculate this. In 10 years, all I'm going to get is just $15,000. So what you can do is, just to understand how much, it's 50 by 12 by 10 plus 5. So I've invested $11,000 in total, my cash, and I got $15,000, so almost $16,000. So in 10 years, I've earned only $5,000. Then we change this to 30. Okay, now a little bit better. I got $61,000 by investing only 11. So if I waited for 20 more years, now I have actually made it 50,000 more than before.
But you keep investing.
No, you keep
Oh, right.
20 years.
Thanks so much. Let's calculate it again. Thank you. Inflation. That's a good point as well. So yes, in this scenario, I made $23,000. Right? So now we take 50 years. Let's calculate this first. So now I've spent $35,000, but I've made $180,000. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, so many rules.
You can see how it starts to curve up. Okay? If you invest for your children $50 a month for your children, they can live 70 years. They would just have $500,000 here from $50 investment every month. Which again, we can calculate by 12 by 70 on $42,000 plus 5, so $47,000 investment, you make $500,000. So $450,000 your children will have. The thing, the people said inflation. I agree, inflation is important. That's why people pay attention to it so much. The thing with it is that the $50 also deflate, right? So over time, if you're just putting $50 over the course of 70 years, it's like putting right now in dollar. If you go back 70 years from now, 1950s, they were putting 20 cents, 50 cents. Warren Buffett was starting with those numbers. So of course you would adjust this number according to inflation and just kind of cancel the inflation out. But the end goal is the graph itself, right? So the numbers are relative in this situation. They're relative because they will depend on your situations, they will depend on the initial amount, they will depend on the interest that you get from it. And this is only 5% interest. This is in our realities right now, it's very conservative, very unclear what's going to happen in the future. But even in the real estate market, 5% is not that much. What's important is the time. Oh, come on. So I have a question for you. Sam invests $5,000 a year for 10 years, and then he stops. Doesn't invest any single other penny, but they keep growing, okay? So they're still invested, but all he did is he put $5,000 every year for 10 years. Alex, she waits 10 years, doesn't put anything, because she's still working, she's trying to hustle it out, she's trying to make $1 million, and only then she will start investing. But then she invests $5,000 per year for 30 years. Assuming the same interest rate, so let's say 10%, 5%, it doesn't matter. They both get the exact same percentage. Who has the most money after 40 years? Sam?
After 10 years.
Sam invests only $5,000. So in total, Sam invests $50,000. And Alex invests $150,000. No, what the fuck? 30, $150,000. So who is saying that Sam is going to have more money? Who is saying that Alex is going to have more money? Okay. I didn't put those slides. It was Alex.
Yeah, for 30 years, like 5,000.
But again, it's
But
math.
Who believes me that it's Alex?
We have to calculate.
Yes.
Not believe.
5 like 30.
Believe history.
So it's like 150 for like 30 years. And like only 50 for 10 years.
So I made this math for you.
after 40 years, after 30 years, when Alex started, or oh,
But like,
So, okay, here it is.
Because it comes 10 years.
So I did the math for you. Sam is going to make $526, while Alex put in $150,000 is going to make only $472.
how it's working?
That's why it's not intuitive. It's just not. It feels like it's not right. You put in $50,000 for 10 years and then you stop. They're still invested. That's important, right? You didn't take them. They're still invested, but you don't put a single penny. You put only $50,000.
But you don't take the money.
You don't, of course, yes. You don't take money.
Oh, okay.
So you give your money more time to grow, and then the compounding interest comes in, and that way, it's very hard to catch up. Where else is it hard to catch up? Paying your credit card debt. Because the bank is the Sam. They get compounded interest on your money. It's going to be very hard to catch up. Ah. Because I love you all so much, you know that, right? I have two formulas for you. Again, we can calculate all of this just to settle this debate. And I actually did want to do this. But then I decided that we won't have enough time. So I created formulas for it. These are two formulas that will help us calculate exactly what we need in order to learn how much money we will have if we were to invest $5,000 and then stop, or 5,000 plus $50 a month and then stop. So you can take a look at this. These are basically, they're very similar, very, very similar formulas. And they are, for somebody who mentioned here, they are geometric series. So geometric series means very similarly to exponential growth or to compounding growth. All of those things are technically using the same math behind them, meaning that the growth that you get is based on your previous growth that you already got from the previous growth that you already had, right? So it's growth on growth. Now I want to jump into this real life examples. And the simplest one that I could think of is a snowball. That's why in English there is a name, snowball effect. Is there such thing in other languages? I don't know. Эффект снежного кома, да? Snowball. You get a small thing and you start rolling it down the hill and it just grows and grows on its own growth and it just keeps growing. Technological advancements are very similar. It took us hundreds of years to get to engines, the coal engines, the steam machines first, then coal engines, then better engines, oil, then to the transistors. And after we got the transistors done during the World War II, or after it, the technology just never stopped. The TV, the radio came out before, TV was different, but then with transistors it became LEDs. And then we got all the technology, we got the phones, we got the laptops. Now we have AI. AI I didn't put it here. But AI is also a compounding interest thing. That's why it's so scary. A lot of people don't understand it, but AI can now generate new data to train itself, and it can generate it so quickly and get so much better than any one of us can at any point of time. The automation, any type of automation, is a compounding effect. Because if you're doing a job, or you're doing a budget, right? You're all doing a budget, and you spend 1 hour to do your budget, and then you automate, and let's say now it takes you only 30 minutes to do your budget, then you have another 30 minutes to automate something else. So not only you get the benefit of already spending less time on the budget, now you can automate your laundry, and then you can win that time back. And then you can spend that time on automating something else. And now you get more and more processes done in the exact same time frame. So automation, or maybe delegation, right, works as a compounding effect. Knowledge works as a compounding. The more you know, the easier for you to learn something else, then the more you will know. So it takes a lot of time. For kids, it takes freaking 5-6 years to learn how to read and write and count. But from there on, we're learning all the time and very quickly. You've learned about budgeting, credit cards, and compounding all in 3 hours. 2.5 hours. Relationships, they follow compounding as well. The trust, the love, just keeps growing. And then when you already trust the person, that's why it takes so long to start dating. When you go on a first date, you don't trust the person. It takes a few weeks, a few months, sometimes years to learn how they deal with money. How do they, behave in different situations. Budgeting is important. You learn all of that. It takes a long time, but then you already know it. And then you take your relationships to the next level very quickly. The physical power from your workouts, this is a plug for Prokinsa, of course. When you train your body, you get stronger, so it's easier for you to get trained even more. So it's compounding again. Improvement in standard of life across generations. Compounding. If I invest for my son, then he will have more assets to invest for his children. And then they will have even more assets to invest for their children. Unless he has too many children and he didn't save enough. Personal brands and influence work the same way. And they really deeply link into the network effects. And this is more of a plug for startups, right? Any company really, right? Think of a small company. Let's take bakery as an example. You serve 10 happy clients. They tell 2 other people. So now you have those 10 and 20 new ones. Now you got 30 people. But from those 20 new people, they will tell 2 other people. And you just keep growing and growing. That's why it takes so freaking long to start the new business. But then once you're established, it's so much easier. Because of a compounding interest. The influence the same way, right? So any company that wants to survive should be really thinking about the network effects. Because that's really the only thing that's left right now for the companies that you can't buy quickly. You can buy knowledge, you can use AI, you can outsource things, you can find materials and resources. You cannot buy the network effects. It's very hard. There is 2 quotes. I think one of them I skipped. So I don't know does anybody know who said this? Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. Albert Einstein. Yes, you said it right. Albert Einstein said this. Because if you understand it, you earn money, and if you don't, you will be paying somebody else. Just like with the credit cards. Charlie Munger said that the first $100,000 are usually the hardest to make. You might still do some stupid mistakes like I did and spend them unwisely or lose them. But they're still the hardest, and then from there it gets easier. If you have the right systems in place, those lessons, the knowledge that you get, it all compounds into something bigger. I have 2 exercises for you, and we're going to end on that. I'm going to turn on lights. The first exercise is I want you to do it in pairs. I want you to pick one of the real-life examples. You can pick any of these ones, or you can come up with a different one. You can take a look at the trash, as an example. Or you can come up with more examples. There's tons of them. We just don't kind of like pay attention to them. And I want you to write it out. Basically kind of like do this type of math. Double check yourself. That's why it's in pairs. I want you to double check. So when somebody gives an idea to another person, I want you to actually draw the math and see like, is it really compounding or is it just a linear? So see how exactly the compounding works. And part of the second exercise is I want you to draw this without looking. And then you can all go home. Alright, I gave you a little bit more time. I'm going to quickly kind of like, ask you to share a few examples that you came up with. Who wants to share? You came up, yes?
Way of stopping the car depending on the speed.
Oh, interesting, nice.
What's that?
Can you say it louder?
It's something like length of stopping away of the car depending on the speed.
So when the car drives, the higher the speed, the longer it's going to take it to stop. Right? So the higher the speed, the curve of that growth, it's going to grow exponentially based on your speed. So the distance that's going to take you to stop. Is that clear? That's cool. That's really cool. Yes. Yeah. I think something like that. It could be like a slightly like coefficient there.
For the acceleration.
Yes. It takes so much more. Exactly. I like it. Yeah. Nice.
Nuclear reaction.
Okay. Yeah. It takes slower and then it just like explodes.
I mean, if atom reaction, if you take atom bomb,
Yeah.
if you remember it's atom, if it's, I don't know how I say it, it's band, it's 2 atoms with that.
Okay.
The other.
That's right. I think the plutonium, the degradation of plutonium releases a chemical, and that chemical triggers the chain reaction of all other atoms around it, and that it grows exponentially. Yep.
Don't say anything because it will grow exponentially.
That was good. Katya said women's anger.
Oh wow. That's right.
That's exactly. That is true. All right, guys. Thank you everyone for the lesson today. I hope you learned a lot of stuff. Thank you. And thanks. Remember that next Saturday is going to be free Saturday. You can do whatever you want. Hopefully you're going to learn something useful and keep compounding. All right. Thank you all.